Hello everyone, my name is Shafiq Wedan Harjianto, and today I want to present the presentation of Project 1 Classroom Management. And today's topic is analyzing classroom organization for the part 1. And first, what is analyzing classroom organization? Analyzing classroom organization is the systematic evaluation of how a teacher structures physical space, time, instructional groupings, and behavioral routines to create an environment optimized for learning. It is not merely an aesthetic concern about keeping a room clean, rather than it is a strategic administrative framework that dictates how smoothly a lesson moves and how students interact with the learning space. The primary purpose in here is to identify structural bottlenecks, reduce cognitive chaos for students, and establish a predictable, secure environment where academic engagement can thrive. Theoretical framework. The three pillars here. The first is the milieu or the environment. This encompasses the physical architecture of the room, the psychological climate, social boundaries in interpersonal relationship. Second, the methods or the delivery. The instructional delivery system and configuration used by the teacher, including whole class instruction, cooperative group work, and individual learning. Third is the material, the content, the actual academic content being delivered, including its relevance to students' needs, its visual or structural presentation, and its quantity relative to allocated time. Deep dive into first pillar, spatial design and traffic flow. First, there is a visibility and sight lines. Desks and learning sessions must be organized so that the teacher has an unobstructed view of all students, and all students have a clear view of instructional displays to the teacher. High traffic areas such as the pencil, sharpener, trash cans, bookshelves, and the teacher's desk must be placed thoughtfully to avoid crowding, pathways bottlenecks, and physical distractions. As for accessibility, like materials, digital tools, and physical resources, must be organized logically so students can access them independently without causing chaos. Analyzing seating configuration. There is three seating configuration in the classroom. First is traditional rows, optimize individual focus, minimize peer distraction, and supports direct instruction or formal testing. However, it severely limits peer collaboration, so students can only work by themselves without talking with the others. Second is clusters or groups, usually 4 to 6 desks. Promote student interaction, teamwork, and collaborative learning. However, it increases the potential for off-task behavior and social talking to each other. Last, the third one is U-shape or horseshoe design. Perfect for the whole class discussion, presentations, and debates, as it allows all students to face one another. It balances both teacher-centered and student-centered learning. There is rules, routines, and predictability. The classroom rules needs to be explicit, formally established statements that define permissible and non-permissible behavior in the classroom space. Classroom routines needs to be predictable, habitual sequence for daily transitions, for example, like entering the room, turning in assignments, moving into groups, or asking for assistance. Psychological benefit for both of these: predictability, reduce cognitive load. When students know exactly what is expected of them and what happens next, anxiety decrease, creating an emotionally secure environment. Balancing the social and work agendas. The work agenda needs to focus strictly on academic productivity, clarity of purpose, task completion, and maintaining strict standards of learning. The social agenda needs focus on creating a congenial atmosphere, building strong teacher-student rapport, and fostering positive social relations among peers. The effective balance of both agenda is an ideal classroom organization integrates both agenda. A high work agenda without a social agenda creates a cold, stressful environment. A high social agenda without a work agenda leads to a chaotic and unproductive classroom. And then the second pillar here, I want to give the presentation of instructional methods and lessons momentum. The definition of momentum in here is the continuous or forward moving flow of a lesson that keeps students intellectually engaged and prevent dead time. Avoid smoothness violations. First, like jangling, starting an activity and abruptly leaving it unfinished to handle an unrelated administrative task. Second, there's flip-flops, shifting back and forth confusingly between old and new topics due to poor structural planning. And there is need to be an adaptive delivery for the material. The structural organization must flexibly shift between direct instruction, independent work, and group work, depending on the student's immediate learning energy. And then for the last pillar here, I will give the structuring materials from Brain's framework. When analyzing classroom organization, teachers must evaluate lessons materials using 3 viral questions. Is the work relevant? The content must match the students' varying ability levels and academic needs to prevent immediate frustration or boredom. Is it engagingly presented? The visual and conceptual structure of the material must capture students' interest. Is the quantity sufficient? There must be enough material to fill the entire allocated time frame. Under-planned lesson leave an empty time, which is the primary catalyst of classroom disruptions. Psychological impact of this organization. This organization can lead into the trap of confusion. Disorganized instructions and environments cause students to feel confused, which rapidly triggers a fear of failure or feelings of inadequacy. Behavior as a shield. Students will often rather look bad by acting out or being disruptive than look stupid by failing at a task they do not understand. Organization as encouragement. Clear structural organization provides psychological safety, giving students the confidence and clarity needed to take academic risks. Conclusion for this presentation is the teaching needs a systematic approach. Analyzing classroom organization reveals that effective management is not about control. It is about designing a cohesive system. The interconnected triad. Success depends on the harmonious alignment of physical space, the milieu, lessons execution, the methods, and lessons content, the material. The ultimate takeaway of this topic, an organized classroom acts as a silent co-teacher, minimizing structural behavior issues and maximizing the time available for actual learning. And now let's get into part 2 of solving the problem with logical case and analysis. First case analysis, the case of Mr. Eleazar. The problem here is repetitive disruption like talking, shouting silly answers, playing with objects, restricted to a specific group of students sitting in the back during a whole class discussion. A logical argumentation based on this topic needs our classroom organization or the structural layout. The primary problem here is the spatial design. Placing a whole class discussion format in a standard row layout creates a physical and psychological gulf between the front and the back of the room. The students in the back are physically isolated from Mr. Eleazar's immediate zone of proximity, which dilutes his behavioral authority and reduces their accountability. The second is instructional methods and momentum. While the topic may be engaging, the method of execution fails to sustain momentum for everyone. The back of the room has become a literal blind spot where that time allows students to retreat into their social agenda, like playing with objects or shouting for pure amusement. What is the solution? The solution here is first is to reorganize the spatial layout. Mr. Eleazar must immediately break the traditional rows before any class discussion. He should shift the desk into a U-shape or horseshoe configuration. This eliminates the back of the room entirely, brings every student into equal proximity to teacher, and establishes direct eye contact among all participants. Second, implement structured turn-taking, teaching to cooperate or listen. Replace open-ended shouting with structured participation method, such as sting, pair, share, or passing a psychological token to designate the speaker. This reorganizes the discussion into predictable routine where objects brought from home are naturally displaced by the material required for the task. Case number 2, this is the case of Miss Giandra. The problem in here, a highly provocative, charming, disruptive student named Zefano, who subverts authority through sarcastic remarks, teasing, and exaggerated courtesy to win the admiration of his peers or the students or their friends. Logical argumentation based on topics from the meeting here is causes of classroom conflict. Zefano is engaged in a classic class of agendas. He has weaponized Miss Giandra classroom to fulfill his deep psychological need for power, status, and belonging among his peers, his social agenda. Second, communicating with students. Miss Giandra's current confrontational approach plays directly to Zefano's hands. By confronting him publicly in front of his audience, she validates his stage. His charming responses and exaggerated courtesy are defensive maneuvers designed to maintain his social status while technically avoiding outright insubordination. The solution here is first to de-escalate via congruent communication. Miss Giandra must refuse to engage with Zefano's public performance. When he makes a sarcastic remark, she should use a neutral brief I message to state the boundary without anger. Example, the expectation is a serious answer. Moving on. An immediate pivot attention away from him to maintain lessons momentum. This denies him the audience reaction he craves. Second is private confrontation, strategic reframing. Miss Giandra must speak with Zefano completely outside of class time, the milieu. In private, his social shield vanishes. Using G-Note's congruent communication, she should acknowledge his leadership skills and wit, but firmly reframe his role. Zefano, you have a massive influence on this class. When you use sarcasm, it disrupts the flow. I need your leadership to help move the class forward, not to hold it back. This redirects his need for power into a positive cooperative channel. And the last case, the third case, is the case of Miss Yehezkiela. The problem here is escalating peer conflict characterized by frequent teasing, constant bickering, yelling, shouting, and physical shoving during class time. Logical argumentation based on this topic causes a classroom conflict. The escalation from verbal teasing to psychological shoving indicates a systematic failure in classroom milieu. The emotional safety of the room has completely eroded. This severe bickery is a symptom of ambiguous or non-enforced behavioral boundaries, coupled with lack of emotion literacy among the students. Teaching students to cooperate. The students possess no structural skills to handle disagreements or manage interpersonal friction, because cooperative norms were never established or systematically taught. The students resort to raw, aggressive behavioral responses when their personal boundaries are crossed. The solution for this problem, the first one is re-establish structural boundaries organization or the milieu. Miss Yehezkiela must immediately halt academic instruction to execute an emergency reset of the classroom environment. She must explicitly reteach the classroom rules regarding mutual respect and physical safety. The boundaries must be clear, absolute, and enforced with immediate, predictable consequences for any shoving or shouting. Second, implement explicit cooperative and communication training. She must transition the class from competitive to or loose structures into tightly organized cooperative learning frameworks. She should dedicate time to teaching students how to disagree, introduce conflict resolution routines such as using peer mediation, or teaching students to use simple non-aggressive communication scripts. Like in the example, when you say that it makes me angry, stop. By repressing emotional chaos with predictable behavioral routines, the friction will dissolve into structured cooperation. And that's all for the presentation of me for the Project 1 Classroom Management. Thank you everyone for your attention.